And hello there guys, welcome to this continuing InFamous live stream. I've had to stop the previous one because I was asked to do something to help the family out, but I got that done now. Jeez, I've done the dishes earlier before that, and now I'm doing this. Oh well. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining. Once I do down, whatever water I have left in my flask, I'm gonna just crack open a can of Pepsi to keep me stable on energy. I don't really. Let's see here. Yeah, on YouTube I got to. On YouTube though, it's always a little pain of resetting some things up. And I keep on forgetting to remove the very description of a prototype. Okay, got that dealt with on YouTube. I'm back on with Twitch, and I do wish to use a one of my pairs of Bluetooth earbuds or some kind of Bluetooth audio, but my two pairs both are recharging.
The first sign that this challenge was going to be a little different than the previous ones was the number of people who wanted to participate. ARC GPU challenge. Anyone want to use Intel ARC for a month? Come on. Snapdragon challenge. Anyone want to use one of these for a month? Oh my god! I know! And it's easy to see why people want it in. My entire mindset has changed to the point where I used to see a sliver of battery and I would drop everything that I was doing and dash to the outlet, whereas now I think, interesting. I guess I'll finish up a few things and then maybe I'll plug in at some point, right? On one of my first days, okay, I got a notification that I was at 10% battery and it was in critical mode. I then proceeded to finish up a Teams voice call, including screen sharing on that call. I made some edits to a script. I then wrote a couple of emails, did some notes, checked my battery life, and casual 6%. No problem. However, it's worth noting that in the last month, I've used my laptop the way that I use my laptop, which is to say I've installed basically nothing on it. We don't even use Word in the writing department anymore, so almost everything I do is in a browser or a browser-based program. I've used it for video conferencing, Discord, OBS screen cap, okay, that's not in a browser, but all of those things work perfectly. Now, I have had some slightly weird stuff happen with Bonjour, but it hasn't really bothered me enough to go back to worrying about my battery life.
Yeah, for me, the experience has been even better than I expected. In a month, I have charged my laptop a total of 5 times, and if you look at the dates, there is an entire week where I did not plug it in once. Obviously, during that week, I was not using it a ton, typically 2-3 hours a day, something like that. But with every other laptop that I've ever used, Windows, Apple, I just cannot do that.
That's actually a really good point because lots of Windows laptops are rated for 8+ hours of battery life.
Yeah.
That's not the issue. The issue is when I go to use it the next day.
On any other laptop, 20% battery end of the day, you have to plug it in.
Yeah.
On this, it's like, okay, 20%, I'll use it 4 hours tomorrow, great. The heaviest program I use regularly is SolidWorks, and for occasional use like what I do on the go, performance is usable. For me, it is fine because any large assemblies I need to tackle, I just do on my desktop, and I only run SolidWorks on my laptop to make small adjustments to parts in the shop, but it is emulated and the raw performance is very similar to my old laptop, which has a low-powered 2 P-core CPU that was slow when it was released 2 years ago.
Right.
What I was afraid would be a deal breaker for me was car audio, but it's actually just totally fine. Our calibrated measurement microphones just worked, allowing me to get these measurements right here for our MX5 review, watch it on short circuit. And then came the much bigger challenge, doing a new tune on my car.
No way.
This involved niche DSP drivers, a bunch of random Windows runtimes, and Direct Live's licensing server all to cooperate, which is not even a guarantee on regular x86 Windows machines, but it just did it. And now I have a 2C tune in my car. It sounds absolutely fantastic.
So unfortunately, my work can't be really done on a pen and paper.
What are you saying about what I do is also work?
Well, my work is, more video editing, and I can't really video edit on a pen and paper. And as a recent graduate, I decided to take a perspective of a university student because I feel like university students are the people who really buy these laptops. And so I was like, oh, it'd be a cool way to determine if this is actually good for, people
Everything.
at school. Yeah, exactly,
Right?
yeah.
Because you're not going to have another computer.
Exactly, yeah. The first and simplest thing I tried to do was watch YouTube videos. But instead, I got audio renderer issues saying I need to reset my computer.
Fortunately, I had this great LTT laptop bag, lttstore.com. Man, this thing is freaking awesome. It's got all the room, opens up so big. Oh yeah, baby, stores everything. Sorry. What were you saying?
Well, fortunately, the computer was one step ahead of me there because for the first couple of days, I had a load of crashes that restarted the computer for me. Next, I want to edit some Flowpoint exclusives, which I thought would be fine because Qualcomm did say that they're going to support Adobe Creator Suites, which turns out it was only Photoshop and graphic design stuff. No Premiere.
Great.
No, I thought Premiere works.
When I first got it, my first thing was to try installing it, and it wasn't there. I was like, what's up with that? It just works. Fortunately, after a week of daily driving it, it was there. But there was a catch. After Effects, still missing. So I couldn't do any of the fun graphics. Premiere was emulated, and
Gross.
it just sucked, honestly. Using Premiere on this thing was not a good experience.
There is one more thing to say. It's in the script. He's doing his best, but only the 2023 version is supported. Like, 2024 is 3/4 over, and they're only supporting 2023?
I had to convert most of my projects to the 2023 versions just so I can start editing. I tried editing 3 videos. The first one was fine until I started adding screen caps to it, which then it pooped itself. The second one was a YouTube short at 1080p, which was mostly fine, but I ended up switching to a real computer for animations at the end. And the third one was a 4K multicam sequence, and
Oh yeah.
it died. I think it loaded it in, and then it just didn't work. There's not a chance.
Honestly, I think the most telling part of all of that is the way that you referred to a normal x86 computer as a real computer. So in a month, you didn't manage to completely edit a single video on it, even though Premiere is supported.
Yeah, like the worst part is Parsec didn't work that great either, so I didn't really get to remote into my desktop and edit it. So I was like, I determined that the speed I was going to go at parsecing in versus editing on my computer wasn't going to justify it, so I ended up just moving back to my computer.
Yeah, I didn't try to use Parsec, and that's the thing, right? Is when an application doesn't work, you're basically stuck. If this is your only computer, there's no backup plan. The emulation all runs automatically, so it's not like you can install an emulator and maybe it'll work now. It just doesn't work. I actually had my first near showstopper just yesterday. Talk about a buzzer beater. I was using Channelizer for the how much Wi-Fi is too much video, and I started getting random crashes. At first I thought, okay, it's probably a license issue since I haven't checked in with Metageek for 2 years. And then I realized, oh, hold on a second, it's always crashing after a little while when I go inside the chamber. Maybe it needs an always-on connection, but obviously I wouldn't have any Wi-Fi in an RF isolation chamber. Then it turned out that the emulation was bad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
Who would have thought?
Nothing to do with the license. And I had another bizarre issue yesterday too. I got a notification that I was running out of battery, which was fine. I hadn't charged it in like 6 days or something like that. But when the speaker went off, I didn't think about this until you mentioned your audio rendering issues, but it started like buzzing at me really weird, which makes me wonder if maybe it's something to do with the platform. You guys haven't actually seen this yet, but I'm going to show you. This is super weird.
Oh.
What?
What the?
It's like a spaceship.
It just didn't stop. Overall, I've been happy with the machine though, especially the keyboard. And like I said to you, I never use my laptop outside, so the screen, total non-issue. But I noticed right at the end that HP cheaped out on the Wi-Fi. I only got Wi-Fi 6E instead of Wi-Fi 7.
Well, my Surface Laptop 7 does have Wi-Fi 7, but I would much rather have your 6E chip in there if that meant my experience was good. In areas where my Wi-Fi strength wasn't great, like you just know that spot in your house, it just wouldn't work sometimes. I would load a YouTube video and then halfway through it would just disconnect from Wi-Fi, and it was super annoying. Both of you guys had good Wi-Fi, right?
Yeah, mine was perfect actually. It was really good.
Yeah, I used that thing for a week making the review. I also didn't have an issue, so
That was great.
I think it's Microsoft and their antenna design.
Wait, I wonder if HP knows something I don't know and used the 6E for a reason? Which one's yours?
Wi-Fi 7.
Must just be the antenna design then.
Yeah.
Could also just be a bunk unit, but another area that's been pretty good for me is gaming. Now, in our live stream, half of the games we tested didn't work, but real world use is a little bit different than just having you guys send games to us and us running whatever you ask. Like for me, from the time that I spent with the Steam Deck, my mentality shifted a little bit from I want to game, I want to play this game and nothing else is acceptable to I'm in the mood to game, I'm willing to find something that works with the device that's in front of me. So obviously it's not the best, but actually I found that I was okay with it.
Yeah, if you treat it like a second computer, I think it's okay. But I tried playing a lot of the games that are popular with the youth, like me.
Okay.
27. Like League of Legends, Valorant, Fortnite, and Minecraft. The first three didn't work. Like it would not boot. I could download it, but
whatever you want.
and Minecraft was just too laggy. So getting one of these laptops for school means you probably aren't playing games with your friends. Don't do that, parents.
I'm kind of split on this one. The 3 games that I play the most just straight up do not work on this laptop, but also they straight up do not work on the last laptop that I used either.
Right, because
so
you used to thin and light with old onboard graphics anyway, so
I'm pretty flexible. Like, I'm going on a long flight tomorrow. I installed Animal Well on this. It works great. I do not care if I don't get to do 3D games on this. And at the same time, 120 hertz display, this thing is awesome to game on. I just want to highlight how good this screen is. Sammy's screen as well, fantastic. 3x2 Quad HD, 120 hertz, bright enough to use outdoors. And the most incredible thing is that this display did not even stand out in our last video. Typically, the 2 biggest power draws on a laptop are the CPU and the display, and previously I was willing to live with a mediocre display because the OLED screen option was just not worth it for battery life. But when the CPU is this efficient, you can just give up 4 hours of battery life and it will be totally fine. It really is the closest thing that we have to the MacBook experience. And while game compatibility sucks compared to normal Windows, it's still a lot better than Mac.
dang! Sick burn!
One final thing about the Surface is that the webcam is fantastic. In the very first video call that I had on it, I got compliments of just how great it looks.
Yeah, I also got compliments on it. Mic was good and webcam was good.
Now, here's something I'd like to compliment you guys on. You've lasted a long time here at Linus Media Group, being on Microsoft and Samsung's payroll, respectively. You guys,
What?
okay, no, you know what? They are right. They're right. The webcam is actually a standout feature. However, I want to change the topic a little bit. This is 2024. We got to talk about AI.
We love AI.
Does it make me a boomer that I completely forgot about the Copilot button, except for the one time I pressed it by accident?
Really? I'm actually a big fan of Copilot and just like ChatGPT, like LLMs in general. And I like how accessible it was to, just one click button, I can just look it up. It's way more convenient than opening my browser, typing in ChatGPT.
You kids know about bookmarks, right? Do you know about doing up more than half of the buttons on your shirt?
It's a style. It's a style.
He knows style.
I know style.
And my footwear is cringe. My footwear is cringe.
Yo.
Okay, well, you guys vote. Vote in the comments. Leave a like for mine, and leave a comment for Sammy's.
Subscribe to Float Plane if you just want runners.
And I do use ChatGPT sometimes just to help with polishing my wordings and just general research because Google sucks. We have a whole video about that.
I used Copilot a couple of times when I accidentally tried to lock my laptop.
Nice.
Went like that.
I just want to mention, before people think I completely hate this laptop, I think the physical appearance of the laptop was great. Like you said, the keyboard's great, the webcam's great, the mic's great. It's extremely light. I lugged the Samsung laptop with my personal heavy laptop, and it was so light and thin, I didn't notice a weight difference in my backpack, nor did I feel like I had any space issues. The fan also, I don't know if you guys have any comments about it, but mine was so quiet.
I totally forgot to comment about it because I didn't notice it once.
It's just that quiet. And I feel like, if you're in a lecture, I feel like you always hear one or two people that have whoosh the whole time, right? Like they're Alienware.
And that's especially true if they're trying to actually record anything.
Yeah.
Especially with video. Man, I don't know what it is. Every Windows laptop I've ever owned, all I gotta do is get on a Teams call.
You guys are.
It sounds like it's trying to take off from the desk. I mean, I don't blame it. Those calls are boring. Anyway, what are we feeling overall, guys? I've had a great time with mine, only running into a major issue at day 29 out of 30. That's pretty darn good.
I love it. I don't think I'm going back to x86. I'm not sure that I will.
For now, I don't feel like this can be your primary computer. Maybe not even your own laptop. But personally, I would highly recommend this as a secondary computer.
Tertiary by that point, since you've got a desktop and a laptop already, and this is just your mobility-focused computer. But that's fair enough, depending on what you're doing. Now, one thing to remember is that AMD just released a lineup of CPUs that is much more competitive battery life-wise. But they aren't competitive price-wise. These come in at a lower cost than AMD and, presumably, Intel's upcoming latest-gen mobile CPUs, meaning that you can't really compare them directly. Maybe by going Qualcomm, you give up some program compatibility, but you get more RAM, or you get a better screen, which could make things even more compelling.
If you can actually work on it, though.
Well, yeah, that is a major issue, and I think we're in agreement then. Qualcomm Snapdragon X laptops. Excellent if everything you do is in a browser, or if you already have another computer for the work that you need to do on another computer. Hopefully someday it'll be for everyone, like this segue to our sponsor.
Hold up.
Manscaped. You know.
How in the world could someone try to play every Blizzard game ever? Why you think that they made it hard for people to get a hold of their past games?
What do you talk about with a woman? Imagine you walk up to a woman at a coffee shop, or a bar, or a gym, or wherever. What do you talk about in that conversation so that you can build attraction with her? So this is a big problem for so many men, and so many women, for example, but it doesn't have to be, because talking to any woman is so much easier.
But Headphone jack for some reason is having an issue. I'll try, but as far as I know, the Oh, now the headphone jack wants to work.
Than you think. And there are 3 tips I want to share with you today that always work. So if you just keep these 3 things in mind as guidelines, you will be able to talk to women anywhere, anytime, any place, forever without getting stuck in your head, worrying about what the heck to say next. And you'll start having better conversations that create attraction and lead to phone numbers and dates and whatever you like. So pay attention and keep watching. Hi, my name is Marnie, and from here on out, I am going to be your very own personal mean girl. And every week, it is my job to give you the no BS insider info about what women really want versus what they say they want. So just hit that subscribe button now so that you never miss a video. Before opening up that pretty little mouth of yours, the part that women are paying most attention to is your face. And today's video sponsor, Teach Hanley, is going to help you take care of that face so that women are more open to hearing the things that you actually have to say. Teach Hanley is one of the ways that come with, they have over their system having guidelines. You get nervous and you run out of things to talk about in conversation with a woman. The reason you might get stuck in your head or you overthink things and you get nervous and you run out of things to talk about is this. You want to say all the right things. You want to say things you think she wants to hear that will trigger something magical, things that she might find interesting or witty and attractive. So everything you think of, you run it through a filter in your head. Is this the right thing to say? Is this the perfect thing to say? And you might not even be conscious of it. Most likely you're not conscious of it because it's happening really fast. But this is essentially what is going on in your head. You're filtering. You want to do it all right. And I'm saying like this very emphasized right. This is probably because you have a crazy standard for what a good talker should be and for what right should be. Maybe you've seen some characters like James Bond or some other ladies' man type of character who's always smooth and clever and has women chasing him, or because you've watched too many dating or pickup advice videos and you think every line you say should be dripping with humor, flirtation, and charm. Either way, this messes up your ability to talk to women because people just do not talk like that. The more you want to get it right, the more nervous and stuck in your head you are going to be. So the advice I have for you and that I give to every single one of my clients is this: screw being right. Seriously, screw being right. Screw doing it perfect. Screw being attractive even. Say what you know instead. Say what you can think of. Say what you like. Say what you find interesting, okay? So for example, you could talk about your hobbies and personal interests.
Hold up, let's see. Windows, just direct towards, no auto redirects, just there. Make sure it's have it. Let's see how to upload there. Alright guys, now let's get back to this.
Interests, movies, and television shows you like, where you grew up and what that was like for you, things that you're working on, places that you've traveled to, books that you're reading. See how this is a pattern, right? Holidays that you're planning for. There's no right content for a good conversation because it's more about how you say something. This is what you need to burn into your brain. When you're talking to your friends, you don't worry about the right content, right? You just share things. You're sharing freely with yourself. You're telling stories, you're cracking jokes, you're asking questions, you're listening. You don't stop and think, oh wait, is this even the right thing to say right now? Is this the perfect thing to make them like me? You don't give a crap about being right. And as a result, you are far more expressive, you're confident, you're engaging, you're charming. The same thing applies with women. The moment you screw being right and just let yourself go, you'll be the far more attractive version of you. And women will like talking to you so much more. And the guys who are naturally good with women, guys who can easily talk to women and make something happen with women, they are not concerned about the right things to say. They say what they know because that's right for them. They say what they like. To them, whatever they say is the right thing to say because they are into it, because they find it worth talking about. They value themselves and they value what they have to say. They find it interesting and entertaining. Steal this trick from your playbook as the number one tip that I gave, and you're on your way to having better conversations. So this is a mindset shift. Now, here's the next part that is super important. Number 2, use basic flirting moves. You probably know this by now if you've been watching my videos for a while, but if you want to be more than friends with a woman, you need to flirt with her, okay? Flirting is what adds that romantic element to a conversation. And without it, you can only be just friends because you're only being friendly. Now, the problem guys have with flirting is one of two things. They either don't know what to say or do to flirt, or they're too afraid of doing the wrong thing and looking creepy. See, now we're, worried about the wrong thing instead of the right thing. If your conversations with women typically end up going nowhere, or you're a guy women only like or see as a friend, I can guarantee you that you relate to one of these challenges. And the good news is there's an easy fix to all of this. Use basic flirting moves. You don't have to be super smooth, make clever sexual innuendos, give the best compliments, or constantly come up with flirty things to say. You want to lower the bar for flirting. So make good eye contact. Use light touching. Be playful and joke around. Having open and expansive body language. Standing or sitting close to her. Paying attention to her when she talks. These are all acceptable, easy, and effective ways to flirt and communicate that romantic intent. And I know I talk about a lot of different flirting tactics on this channel, and they might sound more interesting and advanced than these things, so I get what you're thinking right now. But you can always start off with basic and simple moves just to get you into that space, and then you add an experiment with more tactics as you go, okay? Here's the next part, which is number 3, follow the 2-minute rule. So look, speaking of showing romantic intent, there is nothing that shows more of it than asking a woman out, which is pretty obvious, right? So here's the thing though. So many guys will talk to a woman they like and they will never pull the trigger. They're waiting for the right time. See, we're back to this right and wrong. Thinking of the perfect line. Waiting for her to show all the signs of attraction. Wondering if she has a boyfriend or if she's dating somebody else, and they just never do it. And then live in regret for days or sometimes even months about the opportunity they missed. If you relate to this, it's time to change it right now. And here's the new rule you need to live by, at least for the next little bit. As long as you've been talking to a woman for 2 minutes or more, and you'd like to see her again in the future, I want you to bite the bullet and just ask her out. For now, for practice, right? For experimentation. So you say something like this: hey, I really enjoyed talking to you, but I have to go. Let's exchange numbers and we can meet up for drinks sometime, for coffee sometime, for whatever sometime. It's really simple. Don't wait for all the signs, the right time and the best line and stuff. As long as the conversation has exceeded the baseline of 2 minutes and you got some substance there and you know you'd like to see her again, shoot your shot. Ask her out and you're gonna be shocked how many times you're gonna get more phone numbers and more dates just by following this stupidly simple rule. This one has been a total game changer for so many of my clients, because here's the thing that you need to understand. If a woman has been talking to you and really engaged for more than 2 minutes, and you've been doing the 2 other things that I mentioned, so light flirting and not in your head about thinking about the right thing to say, it's safe to assume there's some level of interest, even if it's just a little. And asking her out without hesitation, you are going to amplify that interest immediately because it comes across as so confident and so masculine. You're taking a risk, you're making a bold move, you're going after what you want, and this is extremely sexy behavior to us women. Moreover, if she doesn't want to give you her number, or she has a boyfriend, or whatever excuse she makes up, she's going to politely turn you down. She's not going to hate you or get upset because you're bold and confident, or slap you across the face or get you arrested. She's only going to respect that about you. And more importantly, you don't have to live in regret for days, because this is the thing that kills you the most. Wondering if something could have happened with her. Now you'll know if it could have happened with her. That said, now you have a complete overview of how to talk to women. I promise that if you follow these guidelines, you'll have better conversations that lead to phone numbers and dates and more, and you'll see it happen right away as long as you take action now and start putting this to practice. So if you'd like to see the best dating interaction techniques I have discovered in the last
I do have the
20 years, the type of stuff that's absolutely guaranteed to get you better results with women, you should click the second link in the description box below and check out my program, How to Become a Man Women Want. This program reveals my proven system that turns average everyday guys into men women chase in just 30 days. Plus, there's a whole section on exactly what to say to women and how to come up with seamless conversation that just makes you sound good and makes you attractive. You can start getting more phone numbers and dates and bedroom fun than ever before if you use this program. If that sounds appealing, then click the link in the description box below to get how to become a man you want. Thousands of men have met and slept with beautiful women because of this system. And many have gotten into long-term relationships and marriages with the women of their dreams. And there's no reason why it cannot do the same thing for you. So click that link, second link in the description below, check it out. Lastly, thank you for watching this video to the very end. I hope you found it useful. And as always, I will see you next week.
Alright, so let's see here. After that bit of a video though. Let's see here, no one's talked. There's people viewing on Twitch, but no one's really talked.
What if I told you that the bleeding woman who touched Jesus' cloak was told exactly how she would be healed by the Messiah? What if I told you that there was a very specific reason why God chose a famine to curse Israel during Elijah's time? And what if I told you that the inscription of Caesar on the denarius coin has a much deeper meaning than we initially notice? Today we're looking at 5 more deeper meanings in Bible stories. Most of these stories have a particularly strong practical implication, so I hope you'll stay around until the end to see how you can become more like Christ by learning from these ancient biblical stories. There's a moment in the Gospels where Jesus is asked a cunning question by some opponents that was designed to incriminate him, but the answer that he gives is beyond profound. Many will know the story of when Jesus was questioned about paying the imperial tax to Caesar, but there's a few important details in that story that I think we often miss. Firstly, the opponents sent to trap Jesus are called spies in Luke's Gospel, but in Mark's Gospel, we get a little more insight. This was a group of Herodians and Pharisees, two groups that hated one another due to the tension between Rome and Israel. These men set aside their anger for one another and teamed up in an attempt to get Jesus to say something that could incriminate him. They asked him the question, is it right to pay the imperial tax to Caesar or not? This is a closed question with two possible answers. If Jesus answered yes, it is right to pay the tax, the Pharisees could conclude that he isn't the Messiah because he submitted to Rome instead of opposing them, as they expected the Messiah would. But if Jesus answered no, it's not right to pay the tax, the Herodians would conclude that he's inciting rebellion against the Roman Empire and have grounds to kill him. It was a lose-lose situation for Jesus, but the answer he gives is unbelievable. He's given a denarius and asked whose image is on the coin. Caesar's, they replied, to which Jesus answers, well, give back to Caesar what is Caesar's, give back to God what is God's. This answer neutralizes the threats from both parties by acknowledging both Caesar's authority and God's authority. But not only that, Jesus turns the tables and challenges the questioners by saying, give back to God what is God's. What did Jesus mean by this comment? In his rebuttal, Jesus used the word image. Because Caesar's image was in the coin should be returned to Caesar. And since God's image is in us, we should be returned to our Father in heaven. That means returning our entire lives to him. The tribute to Caesar was an annual event that continued as long as Caesar reigned. So our returning in obedience to God, of whom we bear his image, should be continuous as long as he reigns as well. Lately I've been trying to practice meditating on God's word, day and night, as David said. I was consistent in the mornings but struggled a lot at night, until I picked up a sleep mask from Manta Sleep, the sponsor of today's video. They make the best sleep masks on the planet that are adjustable. I've been using the meditation and it's available. The link to attempt Manta's final and greatest of all prophets. John the Baptist was known as the final and greatest of all prophets. Jesus himself said there was no man born of woman who was greater than John. But what made John so great? His life was nothing to marvel at from a worldly standard. He lived in the wilderness alone, ate locusts and honey to survive, and wore the skin of dead camels as clothes. But maybe we've missed something about John's story. Something very significant. John's life was very similar to the other prophets of old. They were called by God not just to predict the future, but to live out the words they received as a picture to their hearers. Isaiah preached God's word naked for 3.5 years as a prophecy showing how Israel would be taken into exile. Ezekiel was told to act out a siege on a brick with the label Jerusalem on it, symbolizing Jerusalem's coming judgment. John the Baptist, being the final prophet in a line of men acting out strange signs, is no different. But in his case, John's entire life was one enormous parable. John taught repentance for the forgiveness of sins, but he didn't just teach it, his entire life symbolized it. He led a life that embodied a repentant spirit. His home in the wilderness symbolized the rejection of his sinful secular society, an essential aspect of repentance. He turned away from his old life in town and lived a life devoted to God's word. His filthy clothes and impoverished diet symbolized his sacrifice of comfort for the mission God had for him. This parable was so dynamic and impacting that anyone who wanted to be baptized by John had to physically travel into the wilderness, leaving behind their comfort and security. I don't think this was a coincidence. God gave John two gifts to embody the message he preached: the wilderness, symbolizing repentance, and baptism, symbolizing the washing of sins and forgiveness in Christ. The time of Elijah was undoubtedly one of Israel's darkest eras. King Ahab and his domineering wife Jezebel killed many of the Lord's prophets, erected monuments to Baal, the false god, and rejected the word of the Lord. But there's a hidden meaning at the start of 1 Kings 17 that has to do with the false god in question. Baal was a hugely influential pagan god during Elijah's time. He was brought into Israel from Sidon, the birthplace of Jezebel, and together the monarchs hired 450 prophets to facilitate the spread of the word of Baal. This, alongside the slaughtering of God's prophets by Jezebel, made life a little challenging for Elijah. But God had big plans to shake the nation of Israel by confronting the God they had committed adultery with. In 1 Kings 17 verse 1, Elijah meets with King Ahab and decrees, "As the Lord, the God of Israel lives, whom I serve, there will be neither dew nor rain in the next few years except at my word." The next 3 chapters follow the back and forth drama between Ahab and Elijah. But I was always puzzled why God decided to use a famine to punish Israel. Why didn't he just use enemy nations, disease, or any number of the plagues he used in Egypt? Why was it specifically a famine? Interestingly enough, God was doing something incredible, and something he'd done before. By declaring that no rain was to fall on the land except at his word, Elijah was directly challenging Baal, who was known as the god of fertility and the god of rain. By decreeing a famine, he started the competition between the Jewish god Yahweh and the Sidonian god Baal, a contest that would culminate in one of the most epic moments in biblical history. Every day that the famine continued proved to the people the powerlessness of Baal and the incompetence of Ahab. It was said that in times of drought, Baal was on a voyage through the underworld, and when he returned, storms would burst forth and restore the land. This makes Elijah's taunt during the climactic standoff on Mount Carmel so much more humiliating. Ultimately, God proved in an undeniable way that he is the only true and living God by utterly humiliating the false god his people clung to during the time of King Ahab. I've always wondered why Peter, in the first chapter of Acts, thought it necessary to replace Judas Iscariot amongst the 12 disciples. He quotes 2 Old Testament verses. The first states that his place should be deserted, but the second one says, "May another take his place of leadership." Seems a bit contradictory to me. And why was that verse applied to this situation? I read Psalm 109 where Peter's argument stems from, and I found something very interesting. I couldn't find this idea anywhere on the internet, but I believe it's possible that Psalm 109 is Jesus speaking through David, like Psalm 22, and he's speaking about Judas. There's a few verses that correlate to Jesus' feelings at the crucifixion. Verse 4 says, "In return for my friendship, they accuse me," echoing the Pharisees' accusations in John. And verse 28 says, "While they curse, may you bless," echoing Jesus' forgiving words in Luke. But the psalm addresses someone specifically. I think it may be referring to Judas for 2 reasons. The first is Peter's use of the psalm to appoint a replacement for Judas, a seemingly random scripture plucked out of nowhere otherwise. The second is verse 16. "For he never thought of doing a kindness, but hounded to death the poor and the needy and the brokenhearted." According to John 12, verse 4 to 6, we know that Judas didn't care about the poor. In fact, he used to help himself to the disciples' money, as he was the treasurer. What do you guys think of the theory that Jesus may have spoken about Judas in Psalm 109? There's a New Testament story where a woman was bleeding for 12 years. She spent all she had on treatments from various doctors, but never found a cure. When she heard about Jesus and his healing powers, she rushed into the crowd that was following him. This story seems to be a lovely story of restoration, but there's something much deeper going on below the surface. According to Jewish law, any woman who had a discharge of blood was deemed unclean, and anyone who touched her was made unclean as well. Luke says that the crowds were pushing against Jesus, so before touching Jesus himself, she would have undoubtedly bumped shoulders with dozens of members of the crowd, making everyone she touched unclean. Although this may have been somewhat minor for the members of the crowd, it was deeply significant for Jesus' status as Messiah, according to the Jewish law. This woman understood that if she touched Jesus as an unclean woman, he would become unclean because of her. She would have understood that this was an enormous risk, but it's possible that she actually knew exactly what she was doing. Numbers 15 introduces a law regarding tassels, strings that were attached to the corner of their garments. The purpose was to remind the people to obey the Lord's commands and consecrate themselves to Him. But that's not all. The tassels were also known as wings, and in the final book of the Old Testament, the picture starts to take shape. Malachi 4:2 says, "For you who fear my name, the Son of Righteousness will shine with healing in his wings." It's possible that the woman grasped Jesus' wings in faith, knowing the healing power they contained. Instead of the unclean woman making Jesus and the crowd unclean, the exact reverse happened. The cleanliness of Jesus instead made her clean. This is a glimpse of Jesus fulfilling the Old Testament law, making the children of Israel clean through his life-giving power, and not being brought into uncleanliness and sin by the world he inhabits. How many of those deeper meanings did you know? Comment down below any interesting stories you found while reading the scriptures. I want to personally thank the YouTube members for your generous support of the ministry. I've been so blown away by the response from you guys and your willingness to trust God in your giving. If anyone is interested in becoming a member, please click the join button or click the link in the description. Thanks guys, God bless.
that is quite the... Yeah, that is quite the stint right there. That really... When the one lady that was just trying to get whatever kind of healing from Jesus, then when she was just touching a little bit part of that, instead she touched one part of him that removed all of it. As you see, it really pays to look at the map and do whatever kind of side missions, that way you have so many attacks. Alright, let's see here. Let me just... I restrain all though if there's... Okay, so... Yep. Where can I build my trophies? Like, I keep on seeing that there's all these trophies being earned. And I just wonder... Like, I don't really give a care about trophies, I just want to play the exclusives and enjoy the exclusives. Like, I wouldn't have gotten a PS3 if this game was on PC. Okay, yeah, like I said, I'm wondering, where exactly are the exclusives? Let's see, the PSP system application utility, like, let's see, like, one grand thought is, like, I wonder which games of mine could be put onto my Vita. Like, cool, wait a minute. Let me just quickly look that up. What games can be transferred from 3 to... I know that other than remote play, there was another feature where...
Hey everyone, this is PlayStation Vita Fever, and today I'm going to be doing a quick tutorial. I know a lot of people have done this, but I decided to go ahead and do my version or my take on it, and how to kind of download a game. Specifically in this demonstration, it's going to be a game that's both for the PlayStation Vita and for the PlayStation 3, cross-buy gameplay. So, for instance, we have Super Frog HD. In this game, when you buy it, you get the PlayStation 3 version of it as well as the PlayStation Vita. And the way you can get on your PlayStation Vita is, for one thing, connecting the USB to your PS3 like that. So there's my PS3. Probably shouldn't be there, but the PS3 is right there. It's connected to the USB. And pretty much what we do from there on is one thing, for obviously have the game Super Frog in this case downloaded already. Go to Content Management right there. Press Start. It should synchronize it. From the Vita, should connect in place and should kind of synchronize both the PlayStation 3 and the Vita together without a problem. Once you do that, let's go ahead. You can go ahead and kind of connect it to the PC, PS3, or online storage. PS3 for this demonstration. Connect them. Please wait, and this should appear. And what should appear in your screen is this. So if you have that, then you're golden. If you don't, retry it. So for this case, we have a few options. We can go ahead and copy contents, vice versa, from the PS Vita to the PS3, or the PS3 to the PS Vita. You can back up, you can restore, delete backup files, that sort of thing. For this demonstration, our game is on the PlayStation 3 system, so we want it on the Vita, so we click that one. And then you can do photos, music, videos, and applications. And for games and stuff like that, it's going to go on applications. And you have PlayStation Mobile, PlayStation, the original PSP games, and other. PSP Other, and PlayStation for saved data. So we go to Vita. Since our game is on the PS3, we go to applications downloaded on the PlayStation 3 system. And sure enough, Super Frog HD should synchronize. And just go ahead and check it, and then copy. This is the selected items will be copied Sound like a stutter there, didn't I? These selected content items will be copied to the PlayStation Vita system. The source content items that are saved on the PlayStation 3 will be deleted. Do you want to continue? So they do they go ahead and copy it, and then the original one on the PlayStation 2 gets deleted. Well, obviously you want it on the Vita. So it'll take a while. Sure enough, it should be much more quicker than downloading it through Wi-Fi, you know, on the PlayStation Vita's hardware. So, sure enough, what's cool about this game is, in particular, and I'm pretty sure for all the other cross-game games, that you can also auto. So if you're playing the PS3 version of it, and then you want to hop into the PlayStation Vita of it, you can save the data from the PS3 where you bought it and recontinue it on the Vita without having to restart again, which is really something a duh, but it's great to have anyways. And there you go. Thanks again for watching. Hope this tutorial helped you. If you already knew this, well then you just learned something new. And I'm gonna, in the next video after this, make sure to click on the annotation. And this particular game, I'm gonna be showing you how you can use the PS Vita as a control for the Super Frog HD game. And this could be kind of hopefully in the future we can see this on the PlayStation 4. So if we can use it on the PS3, I'm pretty sure we can use it on the PS4 for future games. So that's gonna be a cool video. Check out for that. And also link in the descriptions for the Super Frog HD walkthrough if you wanna go ahead and see that. And see you guys in the next one. Peace out.
That's just sad that someone wants to identify as a deer. Alright, let's just get back into... Actually, how much charge does this controller have? Let's see here. Like I unplugged my controller, so yeah, I did have my controller hooked in, especially I'm using a PS4 third-party controller because apparently you can use a. So I have the PS3 controller aside, like it does work and all that. It's just that at my PS4 controller the triggers are better working, and I've yet to bother to. I had to bother to open up this controller that came with my PS3. It feels weird to hold. It feels weird to, like, when you get adjusted to a PS4 controller, it feels odd to feel a PS3 one. But I gotta sometimes get a screwdriver just to open this thing up. Well, actually, let's see here. Let's see here. Okay, a little bit over an hour. And I'll just play more off screen, so